have to remind myself. He's my son. I remind myself of that often, especially when the lines between support and closeness feel blurred. I knew I couldn't rely on him forever. Strange, isn't it? How love and gratitude can tangle with the fear of being dependent, with the quiet ache of still wanting to feel like a woman again, whole, alive, and worthy. This story isn't about what's wrong. It's about emotions buried for far too long and how they surface in our most vulnerable moments. And you won't believe what happened next. If you were Claire, do you think you'd have the strength to stand back up on your own? Leave a comment below. Let's talk about it together. And now let's continue with part 2 of the story, exploring the mother-son relationship after the accident. That morning, Logan brought me out to the front porch to get some fresh air. The soft Oregon sunlight filtered through the maple trees, casting golden streaks across my graying hair. Logan was busy in the kitchen making breakfast, occasionally glancing out the window at me, his eyes carrying that familiar look of quiet concern. "Did you sleep okay last night?" he called out from the kitchen. "More or less," I replied, not telling the full truth. The pain in my left leg had kept me up most of the night. But more than that, it was the unease, something I couldn't name. There was something in Logan's eyes last night, in the way he held my hand as he helped me into bed, that stirred something in me I didn't expect. I still remember that hand, rough, calloused, but gentle and attentive. It had been a long time since a simple touch had made me soften, not from pain, but from the feeling of being seen, of being cared for in the truest sense of the word. After breakfast, Logan brought out a warm towel and gently massaged my tense calves. It wasn't unusual. He'd done this many times to ease my discomfort, to help with circulation. But this time, I couldn't relax the way I used to. He paused during the massage, concern lingering in his eyes more than his hands. Logan looked up, and our eyes met, and his eyes held a quiet compassion that stayed with me longer than I expected. It wasn't pity. It wasn't just wiry. It was something deeper, present, tender, and something else I didn't dare name. "Are your legs feeling any better?" Logan asked softly, his voice low and close. "A little, thank you," I replied, nodding gently, avoiding his eyes. But my heart was anything but calm. What scared me wasn't Logan. He's the kindest son I could have ever asked for. What scared me was myself. This feeling growing quietly inside me, vulnerability, dependence, and the aching desire to be seen, to be touched as a woman, not just as a mother. That afternoon, Logan wheeled me out to the small park behind the house. A light breeze brushed past my face and sent a shiver down my spine. Logan wrapped a thin scarf around my shoulders. His hand brushed the back of my neck, and I flinched. Not from discomfort, but because my skin still remembered his warmth. "I know you hide your pain," Logan said, almost to himself, eyes gazing out toward the trees. "But if there's ever a moment when you feel tired, when you feel like you're falling apart, you can tell me. I'm old enough now. You don't have to carry everything alone." I turned to look at him, his face strong, his eyes older than his years. And I realized something I hadn't fully admitted until now. Logan had grown up not just the son I raised, but a man with honest emotions, a deep sense of gratitude, and a closeness that felt deeper than words could explain, intimate but still grounded in care. That night, in our small home, when Logan handed me a cup of ginger tea, my hands trembled. Not from pain, but because something in my heart had been quietly stirred, and I knew the days ahead would no longer be simple. I don't know where to start. From the feeling of gratitude for having Logan by my side every day, or from the inner turmoil that makes me afraid to look in the mirror in the morning. How many times have I reminded myself, "Claire, you are a mother, you are an adult, you are someone who has gone through worse things than this." But those reminders were like echoes in an empty room, not enough to cover up the truth I was avoiding. I feel guilty with Logan, with oneself. Guilty of letting my soul be stirred. by that caring gaze, by that steady yet gentle hand, by the warm presence that I have long lacked in married life, a presence that is non-judgmental, unhurried, and not indifferent, but quiet, steadfast, and gentle. I have never told anyone, not even the therapist, about my loneliness after the accident. I am a strong mother, a resilient woman. Everyone thinks so. But on sleepless nights, when Logan has retreated to his room, when there are no more cars passing by outside, I lie there, motionless, with numb legs, listening to each heartbeat like a countdown clock, counting the empty days. My husband, Logan's father, left many years ago, but the shadow of that departure still looms over my heart. I have never felt like I had a choice. I just keep living, taking care of the kids, going to work, and fighting against everything that happens as if I were invincible. The accident 3 years ago was like a period, not an end, but a pause between two versions of myself. One who once believed in the ability to take care of oneself, and one who now has to rely on the care of others, even my own son. I am grateful to Logan every time he helps me wake from a short nap, every time he lifts me from the chair and guides me to the porch to smell the grass after the rain. I want to believe that it's all just because of family love, but sometimes the small gestures, the gentle touch when adjusting the blanket, the silent gaze when I read, leave me bewildered, not because Logan was wrong, but because my heart is too weak, easily stirred by genuine kindness when I haven't felt that emotion for so long. I wonder, if I had never been injured, if I were still healthy, would I have never felt so unsteady? Are these strange emotions the result of dependence, physical, mental? I hate myself for letting those thoughts exist, but the more I try to chase them away, the more they cling to me, like the persistent knee pain that never fades, like the long scar after surgery that no cream can erase. I am still Claire, but I don't know who I'm becoming in Logan's eyes, a weak mother or a fragile woman. That night, when Logan placed the extra pillow behind me and left the room, I watched his figure gradually disappear behind the door. The room became too quiet. And in that darkness, for the first time, I wondered, is there anyone who still sees me as myself besides Logan? If you were in Claire's position, like in this story, do you think your emotions could be affected by your own son? Let me know by leaving a comment below. Let's open up the discussion together. Now, let's continue with part 4. Logan's own struggles with life and identity. Logan didn't speak much, but he always sensed every shift in me, even the ones I never said out loud. That morning, as he was making breakfast, I caught him staring out the window, quiet and lost in thought. His hands moved steadily, slicing the bread, but the usual lightness in his face was gone. I was the one to speak first. Aren't you going to sleep a little more? You seem tired lately. He set the knife down, wiped his hands on a towel, and turned to me. Do you ever wonder if the accident hadn't happened, how different everything would be? His question stopped me cold. I'd asked myself that 100 times in silence, but I never imagined Logan carried it too. How different? I asked softly. Logan took a long breath and sat across from me. You'd have a freer life, and I probably would have gone away for school, had a job, maybe a girlfriend. I wouldn't be worrying every day if you're in pain, if you fall in. I opened my mouth to object, but he lifted a hand to stop me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. It's just sometimes I don't know who I am anymore. Am I your son, your caregiver, the person you rely on every single day? I'm not sure. His voice wasn't bitter, only tired. The kind of weariness that comes from growing up too soon. Growing up, you were the strongest person I knew, he continued, eyes drifting. You worked 2 jobs, never complained. Then the accident happened, and even then, you pushed through like nothing could break you. But since then, I've started to see that even you have moments when you're quiet, fragile. I said nothing. Every word he spoke pulled back the curtain on the parts of me I'd worked so hard to hide. I don't know if I should step closer or pull back, he admitted. I'm scared that if I get too close, I'll see that you're not just my mom anymore. You're a woman, someone who needs something, even if she won't say it out loud. For the first time, I saw Logan's eyes fill with tears. I reached out and gently touched the back of his hand. You don't have to carry all of this, Logan. I don't want you to lose your youth because of me. He gripped my hand tightly. But you're all I have and all I want to protect. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just my struggle between love and boundaries. Logan was just as lost, trapped between being a son and feelings he couldn't yet name. We sat there for a long time without saying anything else. But I knew one thing for certain. From this point on, these feelings would no longer be easy to ignore. I thought that just keeping a distance and ignoring emotions would gradually bring everything back to normal, but life doesn't operate according to our reasoning. A new event, like a sudden rainstorm in the middle of a sunny day, forced me to confront everything I had been avoiding. That morning, while Logan went out to buy groceries as usual, I tried to move from the bed to the living room by myself. Nothing unusual. I still do that when I feel well, but for some reason today, just a slight misstep, I slipped and fell. The sound of my body hitting the cold wooden floor made me dizzy. My breath quickened. A sharp pain radiated from my lower back down to my legs, like a heavy warning from a body that was gradually wearing out. I lay there, helpless, tears streaming not from physical pain, but from the long, suppressed, lingering hurt. When Logan returned, as soon as he stepped through the door, his eyes widened in panic upon seeing me lying on the floor. Without saying a word, he knelt beside me, hurriedly lifted me up, his eyes filled with fear. Mom, why does it hurt, Mom? His voice trembled. I didn't answer. I just cried. Logan's hug at that moment was tight, as if he was afraid of losing me right then and there. And I, for the first time in many years, let myself fall into that embrace, no longer resisting. That night, Logan couldn't sleep. He sat in the living room, staring out into the darkness beyond the window. I called, but he didn't answer. When I got closer and sat down beside him, he finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper, as if he were talking to himself. Mom, I can't live like this forever. I turned to look at you, not because of Mom, but because I am no longer myself. I don't dare to love anyone, dare not dream, dare not go far, because I'm afraid if I leave, Mom won't be able to hold on. I know no one is forcing me to bear it, but I just can't let go. I was speechless. The words you said are exactly what I fear the most. That because of me, Logan is sacrificing all his youth, his entire future. I placed my hand on his shoulder. Logan, I've been selfish for a long time. Selfish for relying on you instead of finding another path for both of us. He turned to her, his eyes red with tears. Mom, don't say that. If it weren't for you, Mom, I wouldn't be who I am today. I squeezed your hand. You have to live your age, Logan. You have to learn to distance yourself from your mother, not because you don't need me, but because I want you to live a life without regrets. The next morning, I called a rehabilitation center, a place that offers both physical therapy programs and hourly care support. I knew this was something I should have done a long time ago, but I used to be afraid of loneliness, afraid of losing Logan. But more than anything, I feared turning my son into a stick that I gradually cut with dependence and silence. When I broke the news, Logan was silent for a long time, and in the end, he just said, if that's what's best for Mom, I'll support it. I nodded, and for the first time, I saw a faint light in my son's eyes, not of sadness, but of a door that had just been slightly opened. Please provide the text you would like me to translate. A few weeks later, Logan took on a project in another state. Before leaving, he hugged me tightly. Will you be okay, Mom? I smiled. As long as you live true to yourself, I will be fine. When the door closed behind Logan, I didn't cry. I sat alone in the middle of the room, watching the sunlight filter through the window and understanding that I had just taken a long step out of my own darkness. I used to think that love only existed in a fixed mold between two strangers. Then they find each other, then they choose each other, then they grow old together. But living long enough, experiencing enough, I realized there are other kinds of love, greater, more complex, and profound enough that they don't need to cross boundaries to become eternal. The bond between us, forged in hardship, deepened into something uniquely profound, but rooted in respect. After the accident, after the days he took care of me with all his heart, I felt that feeling transform, not into something wrong, but into a form of attachment that transcends ordinary definitions, an invisible bond, both warm and suffocating. There were times I was confused. There were moments of weakness. In that moment, his look caught me off guard, not because it lacked respect, but because it reminded me of parts of myself I had forgotten. Truly seen. But then when we both reached that limit, we stepped back. Not out of fear, but out of understanding that there are things that, if taken one step further, can never be undone. I do not deny we went through an emotionally intense period that tested the strength of our bond, but it was precisely in that misdirection that we learned a great lesson. Love, when not placed within the right boundaries, will no longer be love. It will become a burden, a wound. Therefore, I chose to let that love end at its most beautiful point, where Logan could still call me mom without shame, where I could watch him walk away without regret. No one is at fault. It's just that life brought two lonely souls together too quickly and too closely at a time when both were shattered. The day Logan left for a distant project, I stood by the window, watching the car disappear under the trees. I didn't cry. I feel light, because I know Logan needs a bigger world to become himself, a complete, strong, and free man. And me? I start over, step by step. I learn how to let others help me without feeling ashamed. I learn to love myself, not so that someone else will love me, but so that I no longer see myself as invisible in the mirror every morning. Sometimes Logan still calls home, his voice always gentle. "How have you been eating, Mom? I'm sending you a few pictures of the project, Mom." We laugh, we share the smallest details with each other, and I clearly feel between us is a love big enough, but kept within the right boundaries. A love that doesn't need possession, just needs to exist. That's enough. Please provide the text you would like me to translate. True love doesn't always need to be named. It's not that hugging each other means love, and it's not that kissing each other means understanding. There are loves as deep as the bottom of the water, silent, not noisy, but they will forever be an indispensable part of our lives. I know that even if Logan loves someone else in the future, marries someone else, I will still be the person whose heart resonated with his the most during a tumultuous and challenging period. And I am proud that we overcame it, not by denial, but by the choice to hold on to the most beautiful part. A great love, but stopped at the right moment, at the right measure, is the most mature love. If you have followed along this far, thank you, sincerely. My story with Logan is not meant to create shock, nor to paint anything taboo, but to speak a truth that many of us silently face. That loneliness does not always come from being alone, but from living alongside those who no longer truly see us. After the accident, I lost so much, my body, my pride, even my self-confidence. But it was in the darkest days that someone stepped in patiently and gently, reminding me that I was still valuable, still capable of being loved in the deepest sense of the word. The feelings between Logan and me, once we both came close to emotional confusion, but chose to preserve clarity and respect, between affection and love, between reason and emotion. But instead of letting it cross the line, we chose to face it, to keep the most beautiful part, a bond built on shared vulnerability, one that didn't require labels, only understanding and patience. I share this story not to justify myself, but to tell you you are not alone if you are going through inner turmoil. Each of us will eventually ask ourselves, is this feeling wrong? But emotions in themselves are not wrong. Only actions need to be held accountable. If you are feeling empty, if you have ever wanted to touch true life, don't be too hard on yourself. Be honest with yourself. And then choose kindness to others and kind to yourself. There are loves that come to teach us a lesson. There are people who pass through our lives just to help us reflect on ourselves. And there are also moments, if we know how to stop at the right time, They will become eternal, without identity, without conclusion. I, Clara, have learned that, and I hope that you, if you are lost, will soon find the light within yourself. Don't forget to leave your thoughts below. Have you ever experienced a feeling that is hard to name? Someone who once made you torn between reason and heart? Share. Who knows? You might be the one to help someone feel less lonely on their journey. Thank you, and see you again in another story, another journey where we continue to learn how to grow from the incomplete. If Claire and Logan's story touches your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next deeply emotional journeys. Each follow is a source of motivation for us to continue telling real, deep, and human stories. And what do you think about the emotions in this story? Leave a comment below, share your feelings, experiences, or perspectives. Who knows, you might be the one to give hope to someone quietly seeking empathy.